In this video, we're going to look at how to graph y equals 3 secant negative 4x. The first thing we want to do is recall that secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So we want to first start off by graphing 3 cosine negative 4x, which is shown below. A couple things to note here. Because of the even-odd properties, we know that the cosine of the opposite of any angle is equal to just the cosine of that angle. And so that's true with secant as well. Secant is also an even function. And so the negative, really, we can ignore it, or more fancy, we can say we're using the idea that cosine is even and secant is even. And we're just going to graph this function, which will end up being the same graph as with the negative. Okay, so we've already done the period and the amplitude. So the period we got by taking 2 pi divided by 4. So that's pi over 2. So you'll notice that we're completing one period in pi over 2 down here. And then our amplitude is 3. Right here, and so we're going up 3, down 3. So that's the first thing you want to do, is graph the cosine. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to find all the places where the cosine is 0, or not the cosine, but where the graph of 3 cosine 4x is 0. Okay, and any of those places, this piece is going to come out to be 0, so therefore this piece will come out to be undefined. And no matter what else is happening in my equation, if that piece is undefined, then I'm not going to have an output there. So that's where our asymptotes are going to go. And I'll just do some orange dotted lines here. And we'll put in some asymptotes. Okay, so we got one. Oops, did I drag a whole bunch of them? There. You can draw yours in. I like to draw them dotted. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is look at where the cosine, the 3 cosine 4x, has outputs of 1 and negative 1. Actually, the 3 4x will have outputs of 1 and negative 1, and the graph itself will, because of the amplitude, shoot up here to 3 and negative 3. Okay, so let's find one of those points and talk about that a little bit. So we got draw. Let's find, let's say right here. Okay, so at when x is 0, this bit right here is going to come out to be 1. So multiplied by 3 will be 3. So that the reciprocal, these are going to be reciprocals. Okay, these two things are going to be reciprocals of each other. When I multiply by 3, they might not be reciprocals of each other anymore. So that's something important to think about. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. So let's say we have 2 and a half, right? Those are reciprocals of each other. But if I multiply this by 3, then this is going to be 3 halves and this is going to be 6. They're not reciprocals of each other anymore. So we have to be careful when we're graphing. We can only use the reciprocal property when we're not dealing with the amplitude. We can only use the reciprocal property when we're dealing with the secant and the cosine part. Okay, so when this output is 1 for cosine times 3, the reciprocal of that is 1, we're also going to get 3. So therefore, this purple point is on our secant graph. Okay, so similarly, here's on our secant graph and here. Now let's look at this point. Okay, so on our cosine graph, the output is negative 3. All right, so, I'm sorry, yeah, the output is negative 3, which means that the cosine part would have been negative 1. Okay, so this part is negative 1 times 3 gives negative 3. So the reciprocal of negative 1 is negative 1 times 3 is also negative 3. So therefore, these bottom points are also on my cosecant graph. All right, and I missed a asymptote on my picture. So with this information then, and we know the general shape of the secant graph, we can fill in the rest. Now, if you wanted some more nice points than these, you could plug in values, or actually, you know, in this day and age, you just go to Desmos if you need more accurate values. But this definitely gives you, oop, that wasn't a very good U, a nice shape of the graph and some good information about the graph. They should be nice symmetrical U's. There we go, that's better. Okay, so the key is to start with your cosine graph, or in the case of cosecant, you're going to start with your sine graph, and then find your asymptotes and find your max and min points, and then you can kind of just sketch the rest.